You've got a pen behind you, I've got one in my hair.
Oh, cool.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Crowdfunder's Hangout this week, and we're going to be talking about marketing for VOOM. So just in case, a recap on any of you who can't really remember what VOOM is, I'm sure that's not the case, but basically we're working with the Virgin Media business team this year on helping to produce VOOM, and that's so that we can get businesses across the UK voting and hopefully crowdfunding with the opportunity to pitch to Sir Richard Branson himself. I know, it's amazing, right? So like I said last week, if you tuned in, it's the same but different this year because everybody has the opportunity to crowdfund at the same time. So we're going to go straight into this week, which is what we're talking about, is marketing your VOOM project. So this is Cy Walker.
Hello.
He's our crowdfunding expert, and I'm Jess Ratty, and I work in marketing at Crowdfunder. So Cy, I think we should just jump straight in this week. Hopefully people have got a bit of a thing. Oh, everybody, so if you want to ask questions, jump over to Twitter, #VOOM, and we will answer all your questions at the end of the webinar. So, sorry, Google Hangout. Oh my gosh, somebody's going to tell me off for that one. It's a Hangout, it's a Hangout. Okay, so Cy, really importantly, actually, when you're crowdfunding and when you're even reaching out for votes on VOOM, what do we need? We need a network. And how do we engage that network? What is a network? Let's go back to the beginning.
Let's go back to the beginning. So you mentioned engaging the network. What does that actually mean? It sort of means who is it who's going to be pledging, voting on your project. And before we engage with anyone, before we reach out to anyone, we sort of need to know who that is. And there's a really easy way of figuring out who that is, and that's drawing it.
Oh, what, like a map?
Like a map.
Oh, I love a map.
So the general idea is if you put your pitch up and just leave it there, it's very unlikely that anyone's going to stumble across it. They might do. If they do, that's really good, but you can't guarantee that you're going to get loads of votes. You can't guarantee you're going to get loads of pledges. So we need to be actively driving people to our own pitches.
Yeah.
That's really important. But if we don't know who those people are, then first we have to figure it out. And like you said, the best way is to draw a map.
Brilliant. I think it's quite important as well to remind you guys that, just in case you're new to it this week, that we are talking about, last week we covered off how to build a project, how to create brilliant messaging around your project, how to create a great video, and we also talked about how to plan. So lots of you will have added your projects now, and you're in that real deep dive planning process. And as Cy just mentioned, that map, your engagement, your network, you absolutely need to know who they are. So should we talk about a couple of the areas of that map? So for me, I know my friends and family would pledge, but who are they and where do they sit on my map?
Yeah, absolutely. So my advice when you're looking at who your network is and drawing out this network map is to find a really big piece of paper. I like to use as a bigger paper as I can find. If you are very digitally minded, you might like to use an Excel spreadsheet, or you might like to use PowerPoint to draw things out. I'm old school, pencil and paper, and I get this big piece of paper and I put me in the middle of it, and then I just throw everyone that I can possibly think of onto the piece of paper in all different places. It doesn't matter, it can be as messy as you like. And the idea is you want to cover it, as many people as you can think of. And it doesn't have to be individual people. It can be groups of people.
That's a good point.
For instance, you mentioned friends and family. That's a really important group of people because, let's be honest, they're the people most likely to pledge on your pitch in the world. They probably don't even care what the pitch is. They just want to support you. So they're a really important group. And you can put that group in a little circle on the top left-hand side, friends and family in a bubble, and connect it down to you in the middle. But there's lots of other different groups and organizations.
So I'm quite a big fan of Facebook for sharing and driving audiences. So do you know any groups on Facebook, maybe a community group that's really engaged with your business or your idea, or social enterprise group? What's going on Twitter? Who's using hashtags? You know, who are these people? You need to write them down on that map.
And even more important, your own Facebook groups. Your business's Facebook page, Twitter page, Instagram followers, they're all really important, and you should get all of those people onto your map. I'm talking customers, social media, friends and family, people in the local area, people that you know internationally,
Yeah.
bloggers, key influencers, celebrities, anyone and everyone that you can think of, the people that you used to work with, people who you used to live next to.
The people down the pub.
Everybody. You want to get as many people onto this page as possible. And these are the people who you think, if I sent them a message, they might pledge, they might vote for my project. They might not, but at least I can get a message to them.
And I'm going to give you a little bit of insight onto how I would do it. Basically, I'm quite a methodical person. So as I said, I'd put me in the middle, but I would do a little bullseye map around me, and I'd go, right, who are my closest? So you go friends, family, people that I work with, who are the businesses that I'm connected with, and I'd just work that map out. I think Graham Roy, one of our marketing guys, would actually call it the layers of an onion, which we've said before in one of our bootcamp videos, but it is pretty much like that. So you're in the middle, and who is in your world, and it's that key map that's going to drive pledges into your project.
So we're going to focus on that, the onion diagram in a minute, because that's a really important way of mapping it out.
Looks like I've jumped a bit ahead here. Not unusual for me.
It's
not
unusual.
Exciting.
It's because it's exciting. Know. But for the first instance, I think it's really important just to get everything out of your mind, everything out of your team's heads, anyone else that you know who you think could add to the map. Get everyone in, have a meeting, grab a few beers or orange juices if it's before 12 o'clock in, and just get it all down on paper. Okay,
so that's actually really good. So once you've got all those people, that massive, beautiful mess of people, what do you do next?
Well, that is actually, believe it or not, you might have a full page or full column on Excel or whatever it is of people, but that's only half of your potential network.
Okay.
That's just the people that you know you can reach out to. There's a whole new group of people who would be interested in pledging on your pitch and would be interested in voting on your pitch, but perhaps you just don't know them yet. So you've got to come up with, what does that person look like? What does my ideal customer look like? What does the person who would really like my idea if it becomes a business, if you're in the startup category, who are they? Where do they live? Where do they go on the internet? What sort of other interests do they have?
How many kids do they have?
Well,
what's their interest?
You want to try and find a way of communicating to those people.
Yeah.
So maybe there's an association of, let's say, for instance, you are launching a company which makes kitchen knives. And part of that is perhaps there's going to be people who are interested in cooking, going to want to pledge on your project. So you go out and find places where chefs all get together. Maybe there's a forum. And you try and find these little pockets of audiences that you don't know yet, but would be interested in pledging. And you add those to the map as well.
Yeah.
Maybe put them in a different colour. So
and of course, your little PR networks. You might know someone who does a TV programme on cooking. I do.
Absolutely.
So, maybe they can talk about it for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you've got a network map which is covered with people that you do know and that you know you can get the message out to, and people that you know would be interested, but you just don't know how to get to them yet. And you want to try and find those ways of reaching out to everyone. And that is a very complete network map.
That's pretty cool. So you need to, I guess, work out, you've got all these people and they're all in different areas, but do you talk to them differently? I guess you have different messages for different areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Each group will be slightly different, and it's important to tailor all the messaging. And that's what all of the planning in the planning phase, that's what you should be doing, is figuring out what message works best for friends and family, customer base, Facebook fans, people down the pub. They're all going to be intrigued in different ways. They're going to be interested about different things, and you need to make sure that the message is.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't sign off to your boss at work, "Love you, honey bun," would you? You'd change your messaging.
But you might do that to your grandmother.
Yeah, or your mum.
Your mum.
Or your brother. Maybe. Okay.
So it's definitely about messaging. It's definitely about finding those key groups of people. But there is one thing that you need to do before you actually start reaching out to everyone. And this is good to do if you are currently live, if your pitch is live, as there are quite a few live at the moment, or if you're still in the planning phase.
Yeah.
And that is to take the huge mind map, network map that you've just drawn, and turn it into what Jess called the Crowdfunder onion, but what is actually a bunch of concentric circles on a page. So get a new massive piece of paper, draw a big target on it, concentric circles that go out like that, just as Jess said.
The bullseye.
The bullseye.
Yeah.
And once again, stick yourself in the middle and look at your network map and try and figure out who out of this big group of people are the most engaged with you and the most likely to vote and the most likely to pledge. So for me, if I was doing a startup, it's probably going to be my close friends and family, my best mates, my mum, my gran, who are going to pledge on my project first of all, because they really like me, and I can guarantee that they'll do it because I'll phone them up and I'll say, "Come on, mum, get that pledge on. Come on, I'll buy you a beer to my best mate if you get the pledge on." They're going to go in that very inner circle just outside of me, and then I look at the map and go, "Well, who's my next most engaged group?" If I'm an established business, it's probably going to be my current customer base because they know me, they know my business, they know the products that I'm doing. So they're going to go in the next one out. And then I look around and go, well, who's next? And it's probably going to be my personal Facebook friends or my friends in my wider network, so to speak. So they're going to go on the next one. And then it might be my Facebook page gets more interaction than Twitter, so that'll go in the next one. And then Twitter. And then I might think that, well, I know someone who runs a forum, and that forum I know will be really interested. So they're going to go in the next one out. And you make sure you take all of these different audience groups that's in your network map and you put them into these concentric circles based on how engaged they are and how likely you think that they're going to vote on your project. And that, in a nutshell, is
quite interesting
your
as well.
Marketing plan.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because, again, with those circles, you'd go, right, I'm going to talk to these people through the medium of email. These guys are on Facebook. These people I'm going to reach out to on Twitter. So you really start getting into the juice of your marketing plan. And I think it's quite, it sounds all really very simple. And marketing essentially is simple. It's how you take your idea and how you put it in front of millions, hopefully millions of people. And I think that's a brilliant way of explaining it, Si. So thanks for that. So I guess I've got this awful habit today of jumping ahead. Next question is, how best do you communicate? So we've covered off that you do it, you tailor your messages, and then we've covered off that there might be different platforms. Is it quite a handy way to sort of warm up or test your crowd to understand what type of communication works best? Yeah,
so absolutely. I think there's, for a lot of the people in your network map and this concentric picture that we've just drawn, you can probably reach out to them in a number of different ways. There'll be an inherently good way of reaching out to them. So for people on your Facebook page, you're not going to email them because you don't have their email addresses. Facebook is the medium they've chosen to communicate with you on, and that's what you should use. For people in your customer base, it's more likely going to be emails.
Yeah.
And you could reach out to them via a newsletter or a single subject email. Twitter is the same, but then you get on to people who perhaps don't fit into those categories quite so easily. So friends and family, what's the best way to reach out to them? Probably the phone. But you could also do email. You could use Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways. And pick the way that seems most comfortable, the way that you would normally communicate with that group. If you want to test that beforehand and try a couple and see what comes back best, then by all means do that. I think that's a very good idea.
Cool. Okay, so we've broken this down. So you've got your network map. You've got everyone grouped in. You know how you're going to target each of those people. And actually now, they're starting to get a bit of engagement. And how do you keep that momentum up? How do you keep communicating with people on your network map, on your marketing map as part of your plan?
Okay, so we're going to go back to the concentric circles
You're going
drawing.
to say that so many times today.
I know, but it's a really important drawing, and it's a really important map. And what we're going to do is, from the center point in the middle, we're going to draw a straight line that goes all the way out to the very edge. And then we're going to take that line and transfer it onto another piece of paper, a third piece of paper. And every time one of those concentric circles crosses over that line like that, we're going to draw a little point on this line. And in between those, we should have rings of the audience group that we said are slightly less and slightly less and slightly less engaged. So you'll start with you on one side, and then you'll go to your, in the example, your family and friends, and then your current customer base, and then your Facebook friends, and then so on and so on and so on, until you get to the people who are really sort of, you can reach out to them, but they might not be that engaged with you. They might not be that willing to pledge, But that's okay, because what we're going to do is start with you put the first pledge on, and then day 1, day 2, you go out to this group, which was your friends and family. Day 3 and day 4, you go out to this group, which was your current customer base, and then your Facebook friends and wider friendship network, and then it could be previous colleagues, LinkedIn contacts. Yeah, LinkedIn, we love LinkedIn. Facebook, Twitter, and you target each of these groups over a couple of days. You could do it in an afternoon each, a morning each. You could do a week on each. Perhaps not a week on each, because you won't have enough time. But you make sure that you focus on one specific audience group for a period of time, and you try and get as many of those people to vote for your pitch and to pledge on your pitch as possible within that time frame. Use very specific marketing messages that are going to work best for that group, and you communicate with them in the way of communicating that you normally do that's going to work best. And what that does is creates a real momentum, and it's really important to do that. And I'll tell you a really quick reason why. If we imagine all this line that goes across, and over here are the people who are not really that engaged. They might be strangers to you. You might have sort of a LinkedIn contact that you don't know, or there's someone that down the pub who you think, yeah, you wave at, might do, but they're over here. If you show them your pitch when it is at 5% funded, maybe you got 20 quid in there, maybe you got 100, maybe even 1,000. You're not doing that well visually for someone who's just come and looked at it. The person who's not very engaged won't pledge on that project, because they don't know enough about you to go, yeah, I know Simon, he's going to do a really good job of this. Yeah, trust. So they're probably not going to pledge. If that same person was to look at your project when you have got 5 grand, 10 grand, 200 votes, 1,000 votes, they're much more likely to go, whoa, all these people think it's a good idea. It must be a good idea. I do sort of know Si from down the pub, or we are connected on LinkedIn. I'm going to pledge. And so you've now captured that person's pledge. It's really important, therefore, that you reach out to that person at the right time. And the general rule is, the less engaged they are with you and your business, the less likely they are to pledge, unless there's pledges already on there. So you use your friends and family, the people most engaged with you, to get that ball rolling and to build some momentum for you. Didn't I hear a stat somewhere that says something, if you get over 10% of your crowdfunding target, or you get, I don't know, let's say 30, 40 votes in, you know, you're going to be more successful, because it's that trust thing. Once people are doing it, and also everybody that will pledge on your campaign or vote, they have the opportunity, and it's heavily encouraged that you share it on Facebook, you share it on Twitter through your own accounts. So you're already reaching out to those further, harder to reach networks. That's right, isn't it? Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest trick in crowdfunding, is to build momentum into your marketing plan. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about votes or we're talking about pledges, the concept is the same. You've got to get the ball rolling with the people who you know will pledge and will vote for you. Do you know what I would do? I would phone up 10 of my nearest and dearest and say, right, I'm going live on this date. Jonathan, can you pledge then? Lucy, can you pledge then? And literally work it out in the first couple of days who's going to drop a pledge in at a certain time, so that I know that momentum is starting and these guys are committed to doing it. So I think that's a really good way to start. Okay, so we've jumped around, we've talked about marketing, we've talked about our network map, and also the benefits of reaching out in a really segmented, structured way. Now we need to talk about and really work out is, what's in that message? What is it you're going to say to these people that means they're going to go, da, 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 yeah, pledge or vote? You know, what is it? What do you tell these people? For me, there's 4 things that you want to put into any message, whether it's a tweet or it's a longer email or it's a phone conversation. The first one is who you are. You need to make sure everyone knows who it is that they're receiving this message from. This is me. If it's on a tweet, they're going to know that anyway, because they can see the handle. If it's an email, they might need reminding, oh, hey, it's Si from such and such kitchen knife company. So that's the first thing. Just set the context, make sure they know who you are. Secondly, it's really important that you tell them what you're doing. So I've entered VOOM. Woo! It's a really big opportunity. I might be able to go and pitch to Sir Richard Branson. There's 50 grand worth of prize money if I do well in the crowdfunding, £1 million if I go on to £1 million worth of prize if I go on to OMG. By this point, they're going, OMG, this looks amazing. and you sort of outline exactly what it is that you're doing, what the opportunity is. You follow that up with why should that person be reading this message? So, hi, I'm Sai, this is the opportunity. I'm reaching out to you because I think you could really help me along here. You're sort of bringing them into the opportunity, sort of reeling them in slightly.
Yeah.
So if you imagine a funnel, we've almost started quite broad at the top, who we are, and then we've gone into what the opportunity is, and now we're talking about specifically what they're doing here, what they can do to help. And then the last thing, the fourth thing, is the call to action. You finish all the messages off with a call to action. I don't want to see any tweets, any Facebook messages, any emails that you send out that doesn't have a direction after that person has finished reading it. And the call to action is mostly going to be, can you pledge on my project? Can you vote for me? Or can you pledge and share? Or just can you share it? There's always got to be a call to action. You've reeled that person in through the funnel, and then you tell them where to go next. That's very important. They're the four things that I put in every message.
Amazing, amazing. And I can't tell you guys how frustrating it is when we see tweets, Facebook messages, updates, publicity in papers with no link to your project. It is vital, because nobody will know where to go to support you in your project unless you give them the link. It's digital, give it to them. Stick it on posters. You know, however you do it, just make sure you're driving every single person in your network to that page, because that's how you're going to be successful at this.
Yes.
Okay, amazing. So that's a really good summary. We're gonna move on to some questions in a minute that have been coming in. My phone's been buzzing, so we'll get onto that. If you're still watching, hopefully, good stuff if you are. Sai, is there anything we're missing? I mean, what are your 3 most beautiful, glorious bits of advice for people who are going to be getting votes for VOOM and crowdfunding at the same time? Tell us how it is.
Okay, so not including marketing.
Let's put it all out there.
Hot tip number 1, make sure your rewards are good value. It's very difficult for someone to pledge on something if they feel like they're being slightly ripped off, even if they know it's going to you making the most of the competition and there's an opportunity involved. Something in the brain just goes, not sure. And if there's any doubt or distraction, then that person is more than likely going to leave the project. Top tip number 2, use the network map to create the onion concentric circle drawing, and make sure you've got that momentum built into the marketing. Really important, I think, is to, whilst you're still in the inner center of your network, try and get as close to 30% funded as possible. That seems to be the tipping point.
That's good.
And that seems to be enough to get the ball rolling, and then the snowball will start to take a life of its own. Whether that means, I mean, I would always advise just putting the first pledge in yourself, so that nobody ever sees your project on 0. You don't want anyone to see it on 0. And then see what you can do to line up some people, your friends and family, let them know about it beforehand if you need to, and make sure that really quickly you're up to 10, 20, if at all possible, 30% of your target figure.
Amazing.
And then use the momentum. And then top tip number 3, don't be afraid to go as far and wide as possible once you've hit that 30% mark. So if you get any opportunity at all to reach a big audience, take it. This is a golden window of opportunity that you have to go out there and ask people for money, and ask people to vote for you, and ask for their support, and ask them to come into your world. And that doesn't happen all the time. Use it to your advantage. There's 50 odd days left of the competition where you can do that. So go as far and wide as possible, and think outside the box. Don't just stick to, we've spoken about email, Facebook, Twitter. They're all really good. Don't just, if you can do something different to that, do it on top. Oh,
I just had an idea. So if someone does bus tours locally, go and sit on that bus for a day and tell everyone that comes onto the bus about your idea. I mean, I know that's wacky, right? But
why not?
Why not?
You should be telling everybody that you meet.
Do a quiz night down the pub. Every question should be about your project. Oh gosh, don't get me started. Okay, so just to recap, great, brilliant rewards. Use that network map. And what was the third one?
Well, it's the first line up. You want to go 30% if you can.
Yeah.
And the third one is get creative, think outside the box, tell everyone you know. When you've hit that 30% funded mark,
you're just going to fly, guys. You're going to fly. So listen to this advice and really take it to heart. Okay, right. I'm going to look at some questions.
Okay. Good.
Bear with me, guys, because they're just coming through now. I'm just going to have a little look. Oh my gosh. There's loads of questions. Right. Okay. So Brian, hi Brian.
Hey Brian.
Brian's asking, what if you want to offer equity as a reward?
Okay, this one came up last week as well. Within the realms of rewards-based crowdfunding, it's unfortunately impossible to offer equity. So on the VOOM platform, within the VOOM competition, you are unfortunately not able to offer equity as a reward. However, Crowdfunder is the center of all things crowdfunding, and we can absolutely have a conversation with you outside of the VOOM competition about how you go about doing that. We know exactly how to run equity crowdfunding projects, and we've got a lot of experience in it, and if that is you, then we can certainly help you do that. Also,
we've seen quite a few projects do a little rewards-based crowdfund and then go on to do a much bigger equity crowdfund, so it's a really good way of warming up the crowd a little bit and maybe driving some publicity and profile before you go bigger. Okay, cool, thanks Si. Rebecca's asking, hi Rebecca, can you change to crowdfunding if you've already not selected to in the VOOM process? So you've added a project, you've gone, I don't want to crowdfund, I'm just going to do votes. Can you switch it up?
You can. You have to get in touch with the support team.
Okay.
And they are able to do that on your behalf. It's not something that you can unlock yourself, but it's very easy to do that. You just click support and there's a message box that you can send something straight over to them.
Our support team are super happy to help everybody. So, okay, right. This is a bit of a more of a negative question. Can I suspend my pitch if it's not going very well?
Depends on the terminology. You can bring your pitch down if you want. Unfortunately, that would mean that you're withdrawing yourself from the competition.
Yeah.
If you wanted to reopen it, you'd effectively have to start again. There's no suspension process. However, the tech guys know a lot more about this than I do, and there might be a way around it. So if in doubt, send a message to the support team, and they'll be able to tell you for sure. But as far as I'm aware, if you withdraw from the competition, then you're unfortunately out of the competition.
And we totally love our support team. They're here for you every step of the way. So any questions, they're totally keen to help out.
I think what's better to do in that scenario is take a break from the marketing. Don't push it. Regroup. Redo the marketing plan, have a look at the network, put them into figure out who you're going to go out to, and then effectively relaunch it without actually having to relaunch it. So just start pushing it again really hard and do it that way.
You guys, you're entrepreneurs, you have all this passion and drive, and there is a way to make this happen, and that's what we're providing. So, really sort of dig deep within yourselves and get planning and get, excited about what you're doing, because that's what's going to drive you forward. Okay, will Crowdfunder help me with marketing? That's a good question. What's our rules?
That's a good question. So officially, Crowdfunder can't help you with your marketing. We can help you in the concept of giving you advice through Hangouts, but we're not going to be able to push your pitch above any others. However, that being said, there is going to be some press and some marketing and lots of noise about the VOOM competition, and undoubtedly Virgin Media Business are going to want to highlight some of the businesses that are doing well. So if you put yourself in a position where you're quite high up on the leaderboard, then there's a lot more chance of that happening and you getting some publicity. That unfortunately won't be coming directly from us though.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because actually if you think about marketing as a whole, what you need to be doing is putting the content out there that people are going to want to share and retweet. So, I said some guys phoned me up this week or tweeted me asking for some advice on marketing. And I said, hey guys, why don't you put yourselves in the spotlight? Talk about why crowdfunding is so great for your business right now, why you're taking part in VOOM. If you really put yourselves out there, people will pick it up and they'll share it and those stories will get told. So it all relies on you to drive it in, make it exciting and interesting. And then, of course, that help just comes naturally to you. So I think, people are asking questions on Twitter. We're here for you. So will we help with your marketing? I mean, I think yes is the answer if you're there asking the questions, putting the content out there and doing it, because it's driven by you. But in terms of will I sit down and write your marketing plan for you? No, that's your job. Is that right?
That's
right. Okay, cool. Summary. There we go. Right, what else have I got? Excuse me, looking at my phone. Do we have any tips for getting into press?
I mean, that's your thing.
Yeah, I like the press. So do I have tips for getting into press? Yes. So do your research. Who's talking about your product or your idea? Who's talking about the industry you're involved in? Who are the thought leaders? Who are the people writing about it? Look them up, Google them, talk to them, approach them on Twitter, get a press release together. One of the key things for me when I'm looking at press releases, when people send them to me, is get some secondary validation. So get a quote from someone just a little bit out of your circle, maybe in the industry, and get them to talk about your product, why they're involved, why they might pledge themselves, what a good idea it is. Get that into your press release. Target that at the people that are writing about your industry, and really sort of, I mean, I hate to say it, journalists they get hounded by people with press releases all the day. So maybe try something different, maybe approach them differently, be a bit unique, stand out from the crowd, get your story out differently. I know countless and countless of journalists going, oh, we get hundreds of press releases a day. So don't be one of those hundreds, be something different is my advice. Maybe try a PR stunt. We've all seen these really cool sort of immersive stunts that go on and everybody starts talking about it. And PR isn't just about the journalists and national press anymore. It's about everybody out there who's going to tell your story. So wrap it into your marketing plan. I could talk about this for ages, so I'm going to stop there. Tweet me if you've got any other questions about PR. Hopefully that answered some of your questions. That was Tracy. So Ben is asking, how do I get in front of big investors? Si, that's one for you to answer.
So there's a few ways that you can do that. That's sort of not really my realm. I live in the world of crowdfunding, where instead of getting in front of really big investors, we put you in front of lots and lots of them, which has a lot of its own benefits. It really sort of depends on your business plan and your the financial models that you've got in place, what it is that you're looking for. But if you want angels, just Google it. There are loads of angel forums. There's loads of people who are giving money to businesses up to around sort of 100 grand. Hit up friends and family. Often there'll be someone within your close-knit network that will be classed as and I'm going to use this in quotation marks, a high net worth individual. Because they're quite engaged with you via that link, then there's a good chance that you might be able to get some big money investors there. If we're going sort of the next stage up, equity crowdfunding is fantastic. You get in front of some really big high profile investors, as well as lots of people who are quite happy to put in £1,000, £2,000, and that comes with lots of additional benefits. If you're going bigger than that again, then you're into the world of venture capitalists, and that is a whole new ball game, where we're talking about sort of millions of pounds of investors. They're traditionally very difficult to get in front of because they get, like PR people, lots and lots of pitches, and they tend to only invest in the real high quality businesses that have got a really strong plan. They've shown a lot of evidence of
that have already traction. Shown a lot of growth. So those businesses are quite different for VCs, aren't they? And
they'll almost definitely want to take a fairly large chunk of the business for the money that they give you. I mean, they're known as ruthless people. So it really depends on there's lots of options out there. It really depends on what stage you're at. But if it's equity crowdfunding, again, like I said, that's my world. And ping a message through. If it goes to support, they'll get it through to me. Find a way to get in touch, and we can help you with an equity crowdfund.
Okay, and also I think for some of you guys out there, your startup businesses, and I reckon if you want to get some bigger pledges on your campaign, think about your corporate rewards. Can you put a reward on your campaign that some corporate's going to go, I want to be involved in this, I'm going to put a pledge of £2,000 on. Well, hey, so just think about that when you're planning your rewards and your targets, and also your network map, who you're gonna approach. So how do you get in front of big investors? Put them in your network map, basically. Work back, make a plan.
And I think there's just one. I don't want to stay on this too long, but there's one differentiation there between a backer and an investor. So,
oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So within VOOM and rewards-based crowdfunding, nobody is investing in your business. They're not getting any sort of financial return. You're not giving them any interest. You're not giving them a chunk of equity. If that was just a slight difference of terminology and you're asking how do we get in front of the people going to back me with loads of money in my VOOM pitch, they're almost always going to be in that initial network map. It's unlikely that you'll come across a stranger who just happens to have 20 grand to give you and to pledge on your VOOM project. It does happen from time to time. We don't see it that often.
No.
So be realistic with who you think might be pledging those sorts of values. And if they're in your network map, reach out to them and say, what would you want as a reward? I'd love you to give me 10 grand.
Yeah.
What would you want back for 10 grand? And you can build that reward into your pitch just for that person.
Cool. Now I've got a funny one now, and I know exactly who this is from. So a guy called Abdul was tweeting me this morning from a project called Pass the Popcorn, and they're already a part of VOOM, and they're considering crowdfunding as well, which is great. Hi, Abdul. Hello. Abdul's first question is, what are our top 3 movies of all time? And this is because his project is a booking of outdoor cinemas and things like that. I think maybe Abdul, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a great idea. So Si, tell us what are your top 3 movies. Let's
I'm rubbish at things like this. I'm really bad. What's a good movie that I've seen recently? My difficulty is that I don't watch that many movies. I tell you, I'm a big fan of Guy Ritchie's work. Yeah. I really like Snatch, and I really like Lock, Stock.
Okay, cool.
They're really good. And Christopher Nolan is also a very good director.
Yeah, okay.
So Inception, excellent film. Oh, they'll be my 3. How's that?
All right, well, I'm going to give you mine. So it's got to be Dirty Dancing. Yeah, I'm totally chick flecking it up here. Okay, Dirty Dancing. I absolutely love Labyrinth. I mean, gosh. It's just like one of those ones that you grow up with, right? And then finally, I watched Inside Out the other day, that one where the people in your head and they like control your emotions and stuff like that. Amazing film, animation. So there you go. There you go, Abdul. There's your 3 films from us, you cheeky person, hijacking our hangout. But actually, Abdul's got a good question. How do you decide the best rewards? So I'm going to say trial. Ask your network, what would people pledge on? But what are you going to say?
Yeah, even before that, take the network map that we know you're going to do now, and look at all the different audience groups that you've got there, and try and pick one reward that you think each of those groups would be really interested in pledging on. It might not be something that you offer in your current product line. It might be something a bit different. But try and match up a reward with a audience group, and then make sure that they're really good value for money. Yeah. And make sure that there's a good range, so they're not all at 20 quid. You've got 20 or 50, 100 or 200, and so on. Cool.
Okay, Abdul, I hope that answers your question, and it's really good to know you're watching from Twitter to Hangout. I like that. We have another question from a chap called James. Hi, James. James is saying, if I don't have 30% of pledges lined up before I go live, can I still do well? I mean, I'm going to say yes, because you've still got time to get those 30% in. You know, this is crowdfunding. But what's your view, Si?
Yeah, I mean, there's a very easy little hack that you can do there, and that's reduce your target.
Yeah. So before you go live? Yeah.
Yeah. Before you go live, just make sure that you're going for a target which isn't so ambitious. If you don't think that you can get to, using your network, if you don't think you can get to 30% of your target, it's very unlikely that you're going to reach 100%. Yeah. You've got to try and get that momentum going on your own. So maybe revise what it is that you're looking for, bring it back a little bit, and go for something slightly less ambitious but more realistic.
Cool. I think that's really good advice. You know, you've got to really think about this. You've got to plan for success. And actually, I think in my experience, most of the projects that plan for the success know how they're going to get there. And I think that's what we've been talking about all along. So the network map. Okay, so just excuse me shuffling some papers. I'm going to tell you, that's our questions done for now. So hopefully we've satisfied all your questions and your curiosity about what we're doing and about VOOM 2016 with Crowdfunder, with Virgin Media Business, with LinkedIn, all these delicious people. Actually, I do want to do a shout out for those of you that might be listening in out of curiosity. LinkedIn are on the hunt for the professionals, and this is amazing. Basically, you go to VOOM, you go to vmbvoom.com, you look at the professionals tab at the top and you click on it, and you can register to be in with a chance to pitch, to help Sir Richard Branson decide at the pitch events across the UK. I think I've got that right, so yeah. I didn't write it down.
It's to become part of the A team.
Oh yeah, the A team. Oh gosh, who doesn't want to be a part of the A team? So applications for VOOM close on the 10th of May. So those of you who are still rustling around, getting their ideas together and plans together, you've still got time, but get ready, get preparing. And then once you're live, voting for your project closes on the 23rd of May. Is that right, Si?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So we're now open. On Tuesday, the platform launched.
Yeah.
For all the businesses to go live.
Yeah.
You've got roughly 8 weeks before that closes, and if you haven't already got your pitch live, then you need to do it by the 10th.
Yeah. Get it up, guys. Get up, because there's people up there. They're getting voting. They're getting pledges, and you need to get yours in now. So crack on. Again, if any of you want to engage with us, you want to talk to any of the teams involved in this amazing campaign, check out VOOM. Is it really annoying when I do that? VOOM, #VOOM. I know, sorry, it's a bit cheesy. I am the queen of cheesiness. And we will see you. Are we doing another hangout?
Absolutely. Every week for the duration.
Yeah.
This time on Friday. Tune
in this time next week to catch up with me. I'm Jess Ratty from Crowdfunder, and this is Si Walker. And we'll see you next week. Cheers, everybody.